Hello, everybody, and welcome to Xbox 2 plus 1 minus 2, because I don't have a guest, and I don't have a Rand. Ergo, there is only Zool, and by Zool, I mean me, JEZ Corden, the man without a million. Hello, everybody. How are you all doing today on this fine... I don't even know what day of the week it is. It's Friday. Of course it's Friday. On this fine Friday. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? It is snowing in Germany. I got 3 inches of snow on the ground, and it's cold and icy and spooky. And we don't have a Rand, unfortunately. So for those of you who were eagerly anticipating Xbox 2 with Rand today, fortunately Rand has some kind of flu. Don't know exactly what flu it is. Could be COVID again. It could be this new meta neurovirus or whatever is going around over in China. Looking forward to COVID Part 2. Electric Boogaloo, apparently, according to the news. But yeah, I thought, you know, in the Xbox XB2 Discord, you know, Xbox 2 Discord, the people there were like, you should do a solo show, and I thought, you know what, they're right. The Xbox 2 Discord are correct. Should definitely do a solo show. So that's why we're here. We're doing a little solo show and rocking and rolling with all you cool party peeps. And just as we're getting started off here, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Patreons who support the show and all that good stuff. So just bear with me 1 second while we get those lovely people shouted out. And also, you guys can always drop in on manscaped.com, who is our sponsor, with code XB2 for all kinds of goodies. And they're running a sale, I think, for post-Christmas. So you want to save a bit of money on some quality grooming equipment, head over to our sponsor over on manscaped.com and then drop the code XB2. And those Patreon sponsors who support the show, big shout out to them. We got D Big Fluffy Bunny, Resini Force, I'm Mike Zero, Tia, Shrapnel in a Machine, Just James Night 3, Holy Dark Death, Steve Stompy, OCC Mine, 09C Mine, James Wazo, Tricks of a Tray, Lazar Wolf, Will Hernandez, Bad Haddock, Army Dude, 52C, Ryan Keipel, Foreign Object, RS Donks, Randall 419, Silas, James Moore, Fantasticals, K-Trox, Bright Tundra 1, Discarded Caboose, Justin Duell, Frank Marino, P. Broke King, Asa T and Madison, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Wagaman, Pat Rock, The Scarecrow, 121, Adam Bartolo, Darren Torpy, Professor JJJ, and Wolfgang KPZ. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting us on the Ultimate Plus or MVP tier and above. And yeah, so I don't know how this show is going to work exactly. So I don't have any gameplay footage for you. This is my Xbox feed live. These are the games I've been messing around on recently. I think what we'll do is we'll play some Final Fantasy 2 because that's nice and easy, and I can keep an eye on the chat while we're playing that and turn the TV down so we don't get an echo. Yeah, so I suppose what we're going to do today probably is talk about predictions for Microsoft's 2025, mess around playing a game, answer your questions, and just generally hang out, I guess, for not a good 90 minutes or so, because I'm so used to Rand keeping me organized, because I am usually super busy. I haven't been particularly busy this week because it's been vacation and all that stuff. So I haven't exactly... I've been chilling, man. And I don't know if you guys have been chilling or working over the holiday period. Let me know in chat what you've been doing over Christmas, what games you've been playing. We've got tons of cool people over here. We've got Deswell Gordon. Hello to you. Good old Collingwood Chris. Chris says, I feel like Jez and or Rand don't feel well very often. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I was ill the other week. I think I had vertigo or something. And then Rand had COVID a couple of weeks ago. But, you know, it's a problem when you do like a two-man live show, I suppose. There's always going to be a chance one person ends up having a ditch. It just kind of is what it is, right? Joaquin Branch with the $4.99. Thanks for that, buddy. Jez, tell the people the Halo show has made Xbox gun shy with licensing Halo out anytime soon. Also, Happy New Year, buddy. Yeah, I can see that, dude. I can see that. Like, after the Halo show and how it was poorly received, they probably want to, like, give Halo a break. I would imagine that, like, everything with regards to Halo right now is probably orienting around whatever they're going to do with the Halo studio, sort of like as a reboot, reintroduction to the franchise kind of thing. Because there's a lot of rumors going around that the next Halo game is actually going to be like a remake, reimagining of Halo Combat Evolved, like a back to basics kind of thing. Or maybe even like a prequel or something, because that's kind of what Gears E-Day is, right? It's like a prequel, reintroduction to Gears kind of thing. So maybe they're just sort of being quite, I don't know, maybe coy's the wrong word, but they're being careful about how they want to position that out. I personally think they're probably being overly cautious, personally. I don't think they need to be that crazy cautious with it, but, you know, it's their game at the end of the day, right? Bear with me one moment. Headset's not working. Kind of need that to work. Please. Please work. Don't switch. Bloody Discord. Apache. Hey, Jez, I have a good show. Thanks, buddy. Nerds and Other Legends. Read the WC article on Black Myth, Jez. Didn't even know there was drama still going on. Yeah, I mean, every time Black Myth Wukong and Xbox are mentioned in the same sentence, there's always going to be some kind of drama popping up, I think. Because ultimately, it's another example of a game that's skipping Xbox arbitrarily, for whatever reason. As far as I know, and I wrote this in the article and I said it last summer, Xbox internally believes there's some kind of exclusivity deal in place in terms of they took engineering support in exchange for an exclusivity period. But now it seems like, you know, increasingly Series S has been blamed. And so, like, if I had to imagine, probably what went down is something like this. And this is just my opinion, speculation. But I imagine that they thought, oh god, we need more time to optimize the Series S. So we'll take a bag from Sony for exclusivity because we're going to lose a chunk of money from not having the Xbox version ready. So let's take what we can from PlayStation while we optimize the Series S version. And now, like, a few months out, they've started sort of realizing that the Series S version probably is still going to be out of scope for them. And maybe they've just developed the game in such a way that retrofitting it for 10 megabytes of RAM on the Series S, 10 gigabytes, sorry, of RAM on the Series S. Maybe the game is structured in a way that it makes it prohibitively costly within their expertise to deliver that. But for me, I would be like, shouldn't Xbox send their engineers in to help them out? But then it's sort of also like, Xbox has a ton of its own internal studios that need support right now. And they're probably stretched thin in terms of, like, they've got a lot of games being developed in Unreal Engine right now. And all their teams that probably would help third parties right now are probably working on games like State of Decay 3 and whatever else they've got being developed on Unreal Engine, which is, you know, a lot of stuff. So it is just sort of like an unfortunate situation, a cascade of incidental issues sort of overlapping. But at the end of the day, it's Xbox customers who get screwed out of a good game. And it is a good game. But yeah, what are you going to do, eh? Right, so this is Final Fantasy 2. I've just completed Final Fantasy 1 entirely on cloud, which is a fantastic little game. You know, it doesn't have much in the way of story, but it came out in like 1987, I think, or 86 or something like that. But it was so relaxing to play a game that was just so brainless. So I'm going to name some of these characters right now. So I don't know what to call them. Furion? I'm gonna call this guy. Let's call this guy Rand. Since Rand isn't here, Rand can be in the game. Yeah, Rand. Now, this guy has got brown hair, so I'm gonna call him JEZ. This guy can be JEZ, right? Oh, we've also got some more super chats here. Sorry, guys. Just catching up. Don Ataku with the 2. Thank you, Don. We don't want bland Al4 anyways. Pokemon Ep. Oh, man. You know, Don, I just unsubscribed from Pokemon Home. I've been subscribed to Pokemon Home since it came out to store my Pokemon. And I unsubscribed at the start of the year because it was coming up for renewal. And I just sort of like, this is it. I'm moving on from Pokemon forever. You know, Sword and Shield broke me, man. It broke me, dude. I was just like, nah, I'm done. It's over. It's over. We've also got good old Collingwood with the 5. Thanks, buddy. What's with the goal for Teal's super chat? Ask me any. AMA. So AMA means ask me anything. So if you get the super chat up, you can ask me anything. I'll do an ask me anything. Also, can we make impromptu Patreon question thread? You can use the existing Patreon questions thread. If you are on Patreon, use the Patreon Q&A thread that's already up for episode 346. In fact, I'll go into Patreon now and update that. So people know. I'll just update it and send a notification. Or XB2+1-2 with JEZ. We'll get them answered here. So, I suppose the issue with doing a Patreon Q&A in a live stream format like this is that I don't know how good it's going to be for people who are listening on audio. Because obviously, like, when I'm sort of talking to myself and managing the chat and doing all that kind of stuff, I don't know how fun that'll be to listen to in a non-live format. But I guess we'll see. We'll see how it goes, you know. Notify members that you've edited this post. Okay, so yeah, we'll do that. NC says, does it run on Steam Deck? Does Black Myth Wukong run on the Steam Deck? Not very well. It doesn't run. It doesn't even run very well on the Asus ROG Ally. I couldn't get it to run very well. I don't know. Donataku with the 10 says, I saw you calling people out for saying the Switch 2 would be PS5 Series X level, which you should. But where do you think the power level will land? PS4 X1, PS4 Series S. Don, I don't know for sure, and I'm not a super technical guy, but my guess would be you're looking at probably 1S and PS4 performance. Maybe like it might outperform them for frame rates, maybe. So I would guess somewhere between 1S and Series S. So like you're looking at 720 to 1080p resolution and maybe 60 frames per second for some games. But I'm honestly not expecting much. But it is gonna have some sort of upscaling technology and things like that to help with resolution and frames. So like you boost the resolution with AI and then save some of that, you know, native power for frames. But there's a lot of issues with frame generation tech right now. Like all the frame generation tech that I've used introduces mountains of latency, which makes it almost not worth using. So this guy looks mean, so I'm gonna name him after my brother. And Maria's a girl, so I'm gonna name her after my girlfriend, because of course I am. So let's go. I have no idea about this game. I have no idea what Final Fantasy 2 is about. Never played it before. But man, I just love the nostalgia, man. Like, obviously this is a remake. The original Final Fantasy 2 didn't look as good as this even. And also when I'm sitting really up close to my TV like this, it looks even worse. It looks better watching it from the stream because everything like is more pixel appropriate. Oh man, the super chat's coming in thick and fast. So Pat Rock says expects it to be PS4 Pro level. Prakar Rai says Scarlet and Violet better than Sword and Shield. Yeah, I've heard that. JF with the 5. Thank you so much, buddy. Seems like Black Myth Wukong never coming to Xbox. You got to thank Phil is upset about what the developer said this week. Have a good day, Jez. Yeah, maybe. William Riggs says with the 5. Thank you very much, buddy. DC, StarCraft 1 and 2 and Warcraft 3 coming to consoles. So, I think first of all, let's talk a little bit more about Black Myth Wukong. So, because obviously a lot of people were mad at me on socials for the whole Black Myth Wukong situation, which I personally think is unfair. Because I'm just reporting what they're saying internally at Microsoft, right? I'm not saying that there's definitely an exclusivity deal in place. It's just what Microsoft believes. So it's like, either Microsoft is misinformed or mistaken, but they are operating under the assumption that there's an exclusivity deal in place. And you can see that in the statement they provided. Nobody ever prompted them to talk about exclusivity deals. They brought that up themselves, right? So, they believe there's an exclusivity deal in place. And whether or not there is, that's a matter for debate. But I will say Game Science has never denied it. They've never denied there was an exclusivity deal for some form of engineering support, which is what I think the situation is, right? I think they took a bag for temporary exclusivity in exchange for engineering support on PlayStation 5. And in the interim, they've realized that they can't deliver a Series S version. I think both can be true, you know? But I would hope that Microsoft would try and sort it out, because obviously it's a big blockbuster game. Sold millions and millions of copies, won tons of awards, and it's really fun. Played it on PC. I haven't finished it yet, but from what I played, it was really fun. Joe Vieira in chat says, Jez, you need to ask Microsoft again so they can give the same answer. I have already asked them. So we might get an update on the situation next week, hopefully. I've also asked Game Science too. So maybe we'll get an update, maybe we won't. We'll see. So yeah, we'll see. And also, William Briggs on StarCraft 1 and 2 and Warcraft 3 going to consoles. StarCraft 1 and 2 and Warcraft 3 going to consoles, if I had to guess, I would say no. I don't think Age of Empires did particularly well on console. So, there's probably sort of a mentality that it's not worth doing for StarCraft 1 and 2. And I personally would like to see it. I think, hang on, these knights have just slaughtered me really badly. Okay, I guess that was a scripted loss. But if the next Xbox truly is like a more Windows-like machine, it will be a trivial amount of work to port those games over to that system. So maybe we don't see it on these consoles. But also, another thing I've heard, and this is just for you guys, I've heard that PC-based xCloud servers are coming in 2025. So if they are doing Windows-based xCloud servers, maybe it could live on xCloud instead, and not have to do it a port. I don't know. Champagne Supernova, great song by the way, with the 2, says, why is Wukong not just on Xbox, PC if it's the S? Do you mean why it's not just on Series X? Well, Microsoft stipulates that games have to launch on both the Series S and X. But maybe they could launch it on the X and then launch it on the S via cloud. I mean, but I don't know if Microsoft wants to break that covenant or whatever. Or what did you mean? I'm not entirely sure about that. Amishai with the 20. Is that Norwegian krona? says GTA 6 or Fable going to skip 2025 and why both? Jason Schreier put out an article today saying that GTA 6 was going to slip. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised, honestly, if both of them slip, but so far I haven't heard that Fable's slipping, but I haven't really investigated it yet. Both of them could slip, we'll see. But it does seem like even if Fable did slip, that Microsoft's got a pretty stacked year. Oh, Champagne Supernova says, with another 2. I meant, why not just put it on the PC Xbox storefront for Wukong? That's a good question. You know, they could just put it on the Xbox PC store in the interim. So at least people who aren't on Steam could play it. But again, it's like, is it worth it for them? Is there enough users? I honestly think third-party organic support of the Xbox store is a big problem that I would hope that Microsoft will try to address in 2025 as well. I'll put that in my predictions article when I'm going to write that next week. Pat Rock with the 2 says, I'd imagine Phil is not one to piss off. Yeah, maybe. Although I do find that Phil is quite a patient guy as well. Chris with the 5 says, do you think Xbox will keep placing their big franchises like Halo, Gears, and Forza to 4 releases, or will they be more open about spreading them out? That's a really interesting question. Will they spread the franchises out? Honestly, don't know. I really, really don't know. I think it would be good for them if they did. But sometimes I wonder if, like, they just see the run-up to Christmas as being the best place to put mainstream kind of games. You know, because people are more likely to spend money in the run-up to Christmas, maybe. And maybe they feel like driving that hype cycle throughout that period is the best way to go. But there's a wild card this year, because if GTA 6 is coming out this year, you know, and also Call of Duty as well, sometimes I feel like if you're sending your game out up against a Call of Duty or a Halo or not a Halo, or a Grand Theft Auto, you know, one of these big blockbuster franchises, you're kind of like damaging yourself. So maybe sometimes it is better to launch these kind of games in a quieter period. I mean, you'll remember that Titanfall 2 launched up against Call of Duty and Battlefield, which was just... They sent that game out to die, man. I almost feel like EA did that in a tactical way to decrease the value of Respawn or something so they could do the acquisition. But I don't know. I don't know, man. I would hope they'd spread them out, but I'm not sure what Microsoft's thought process is with releases these days. There's also Game Pass. Like, they want to make sure they've got a big game every quarter for Game Pass. But we'll see. NC says, does that mean ARA History Untold won't come to console? Now, I do think ARA will come to console because ARA is turn-based. So playing ARA with a controller isn't as difficult as playing a real-time strategy game is. JF with the 5. Thanks, pal. Could Xbox make it where certain games are Series X only? This could make us get... This could maybe get us past certain games missing at Xbox and could increase hardware sales. You know, I've gone back and forth about this in my own head, and I wonder what do you guys think about supporting the Series S? Like, are there any Series S owners here? Because I feel like if Microsoft sort of broke that covenant where it was like, they've basically promised that the Series S will get all of those games, right? They basically promised. And if they break that covenant, then a lot of people are going to be upset, right? But at the same time, there's going to be a point where the Series S is more difficult to support than the Series X. So, like, I just think that the play, maybe the compromise is the Series S version is cloud-based. You know, and if you are Microsoft and you are trying to push cloud, especially when it's just one game, Black Myth Wukong, you know. But then it's kind of like, if you do it for one game, you're probably going to have more developers trying to do it. And then you kind of turn the Series S into a cloud device. So it opens up a can of worms. I'm really in two minds about it. I know Microsoft is very much not in favor of doing that, probably. But I don't know, maybe they'll change their mind. They change their mind all the time lately. Andy says, any new metal band you would recommend? Andy, listen to a band called Black Shape. They're a pretty new band, and they've just released their first album. It's one of the best albums I've ever heard. It's post metal, post rock, post metal, math metal, progressive metal, whatever, alternative metal, whatever you want to call it. It's one of the best albums I've ever heard. The band's called Black Shape. They're absolutely incredible, mind blowing. One of the videos for their songs has like millions of views on YouTube already. It's one of the best songs I've heard in the last 10 years, probably. Amazing band. You'll find it if you just search for Black Shape in YouTube. The thumbnail's a woman covered in blood. It's amazing. Oh, and also we've hit the super chat goal, I think. Oh no, we haven't. It ends in a couple of minutes. Yeet Miser says, with a 5, thank you very much, pal. Does Blizzard have any plans to actually tackle the rivals elephant in the room, or lie down and become the PUBG to its Fortnite? You know, I have asked my Blizzard sources about this, and you guys will remember that I do have Blizzard sources. You know, people say that I don't leak accurate stuff these days. You know, people on Twitter. But if you remember, I leaked Diablo 4's launch date, the beta test windows, the collector's edition, the candle, the collector's edition, and a bunch of other stuff about Diablo. I also leaked the Hearthstone expansion with Death Knights, which Blizzard's really unhappy about, and a bunch of other stuff. But I did ask my Blizzard sources about Rivals and what's going on with Overwatch, and Overwatch has seen some... They have lost some users to Rivals. It's probably not as much as you guys, people imagine they've lost, but the game, I think the game is down year over year. Not in a huge way, but it is down. And I think there is a sort of sense within Microsoft and Blizzard that Overwatch isn't really delivering on its potential. So, I don't know what the situation will be with Overwatch, but I do know that they are increasingly thinking about what do we do with Overwatch, because they don't want to give up on it. But like, it's funny that you say, is Overwatch gonna be the PUBG to Rivals Fortnite? PUBG is still a huge fucking game, man. Like, I think if Overwatch was PUBG, I think they'd be happy about it. Oh, PUBG is a huge game. People don't talk about it anymore, but it's still a huge game with a huge amount of concurrent players, man. But honestly, I genuinely, like, I played Rivals a little bit, and you guys know I'm a big Overwatch guy, and I haven't played Overwatch for months. I haven't played Overwatch. I've missed like the last 3 or 4 heroes they added to Overwatch, and Rivals just made me want to play Overwatch. Like, Rivals felt like a cheap clone of Overwatch that didn't really do anything special or new, and honestly, it didn't feel like it had the synergistic play that Overwatch does. I'm sure that Rivals will get there when they do balance tuning and stuff like that, but it just Rivals made me reinstall Overwatch. So I've been playing Overwatch again because of Rivals making me not scratching the itch, for me. But I know that's not the popular opinion, and also it's worth noting that I'm not a fan of Marvel. So, like, Rivals has that going for it. Like, if you're a Marvel fan, it's a great game for Marvel fans, I think. But I don't give a fuck about Marvel. So, for me, there's no hook there whatsoever. So, if I'm judging Rivals based on raw gameplay, Overwatch is better, in my view. Champagne Supernova with the 5. I've seen too many games run fine on the S that are demanding to blame it This is a lack of dev effort on lower install base issue more than anything. I mean, with regards to Black Myth Wukong and it being a dev effort, you have to remember that even though Black Myth has like this AAA presentation and AAA quality bar when it comes to the polish and the gameplay and stuff like that, they are still a new dev and they don't necessarily have the expertise of operating like a AAA dev. They're also an independent dev. So if they've built and structured the game in such a way that makes backporting to the Series S particularly difficult and expensive, on their balance sheet, it's probably just not going to be worth it for them. It could be that they end up like... It could be that they end up deciding that it is worth it. But I think, like, I would hope that Microsoft helps bridge that gap, you know? Because it's ultimately, it's us who are getting fucked over. Like, Xbox customers, we want to play Black Myth Wukong. And if you don't have a PC, like, I'm lucky enough that I've got a PC, or, like, I've even been playing it on NVIDIA GeForce Now, you know? So, you know, but if you're someone who's got an Xbox and you want to play on your Xbox because you have an Xbox and there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to get it, I would hope that Microsoft delivers that shit, but so far they haven't. I haven't got a clue what's going on in Final Fantasy. I haven't really been paying attention to it. It's kind of hard to play a game and like watch the chat at the same time. Maybe I'll just put a gameplay video on and we can do that instead. So yeah, you guys can watch Genshin Impact for a bit, and I'll just look at the chat instead. I'll play this later. It's too hard, man, to play a game and check the chat. But I didn't want to use existing footage. That was ambitious of me, I guess. So let's just you can watch Genshin Impact. You can watch my brother play Genshin Impact for a bit. So yeah, let's see. So we hit the super chat goal. Thank you guys so much for that. So you can just, for a little while, you can just flood the question. Any question you want to ask, flood the chat. Just flood the chat, buddy, and we'll get these questions answered. Pat Rock with the 5. Supporting the Series S now is supporting a future handheld version. They need to eat the investment in native games now for a future payoff. I agree. I actually completely agree with that. And if you remember what the Stalker 2 devs said, they said, like, when they initially saw the specs for the Series S, they were like, oh shit, we're never going to be able to do this. But then over time, they learned the expertise and they optimized the games to a point where not only did it get the Series S version in a good state, but they also were able to optimize it better for PC. And also, in my interview with the Stalker 2 devs, they even said that they think they can get the Series S version to 60 frames per second in the future. So, you know, it's cool that these optimization efforts happen, but it also has to be worth it for the dev. Like, it's kind of a risk, I suppose, to them if they're like, oh, if we optimize it now, maybe there'll be there'll be an Xbox handheld in the future, because we all know what Microsoft does. They like to change plans a lot. And if they change plans, if they invest in building a system for 10 gigabytes of RAM and then Microsoft doesn't support the system, you know, it's kind of, it is what it is. 9 Lives 210 in the chat says, is this pre-recorded? No, it's not pre-recorded. We are live, buddy. Although the gameplay footage is pre-recorded, actually. But I'm not pre-recorded. Kiki says, Marvel's Rivals feels like a mobile game. Overwatch 2's gameplay is much better. And Andy says, Overwatch needs more waifus. I agree with both those takes. You are both correct. Guest Synth says, thank you for doing the solo pod, JEZ. It's fun. Thanks, pal. Doing my best. I'm not very good at hosting stuff, man. I'm not very good at hosting. Don Attacker says, no way you're playing Genshin Impact when you won't play Breath of the Wild. This is my brother playing Genshin Impact. So sometimes, like, when I need footage for the show, when me and Rad need footage, and I haven't had time to record anything, or Rand hasn't recorded anything, I'll sometimes just message my brother and I'll be like, can you record me 90 minutes of gameplay footage? So this is actually my brother playing Genshin Impact for us, so you can thank him. JF says, Jez, do you think we'll see a Final Fantasy 16 Xbox announcement before the summer showcase? That's again a good question. I have no idea what Square Enix's timelines look like. I would hope that at least sometime in 2025 we get Final Fantasy announcement for Xbox, but you know, I'm more interested in Final Fantasy VII Remake coming to Xbox. I think there's a lot more nostalgia for that, and I don't think Final Fantasy 16 was particularly well received. Like, I played Final Fantasy 16, I put like 40 hours into it, or 30 hours, something like that. I'm just like, I don't think the game's very good overall. Like, I like the plot and the story. The dialogue's also pretty good. And the characters are good, but the gameplay is just awful. Final Fantasy 16's gameplay is just not it, man. They should have released that game with the hard mode out of the box. It's just way too easy. Way too easy. But not in a relaxing way though. Like sometimes when a game's easy, it can be kind of relaxing and chill, but it's still quite involved, but not in a relaxing way. But it is spectacular. Like it's kind of like I would prefer to watch a stream of Final Fantasy 16 almost than playing it. And the side quests are terrible. Some of the worst side quests I've ever seen in a single player game. Radimus Cisco says the dev of Black Myths said the combination of lower RAM and lack of experience is why it isn't on Xbox. Yeah, I agree. I think it's essentially could be both. Like, because you remember they did announce it for the Xbox originally, so they knew what the spec of the Series S was. But it seems like they've just decided it's not worth it, you know, even after the fact, you know, even after that stuff. So I would hope that we get it there. But I'm not holding my breath. And I don't think Xbox is chasing them for it. I don't think Xbox sees it as a particularly big deal outside of the core. Like, sure, the core's upset about it, but, you know, the people buying the Stranger Things DLC on Call of Duty upset about it? Probably not. What else do we have here? Forspoken PS5 exclusivity ends this month and is available on the Windows Store already. Can it drop on Game Pass? I could potentially see Forspoken coming to Xbox, but it's interesting, actually. I've been investigating Forspoken because the Windows Store version of Forspoken is 2 or 3 versions behind the Steam version. And apparently, the updates for Forspoken on the Windows Store have just sort of been left in limbo in the certification process. And either Microsoft or Square Enix hasn't bothered to get those patches certified. So even though Forspoken is on the Xbox Store, the version is mismatched against Steam because of Microsoft's certification process. I really think if Microsoft wants to be a serious player on PC, they need to let developers have more leeway with updating their own games. Because right now, the security around Windows, it's so strict that devs can't get updates to their games through efficiently. Part of that is because Microsoft gets attacked by nation states. Countries like Russia and China and Iran and North Korea are constantly trying to hack Microsoft. And Microsoft has government contracts, so they have to have government-grade security when people are able to access their systems, which is why it's hard for devs sometimes to update their games. So my view would be, maybe you just silo the games part of the Microsoft Store, so that like developers uploading games there can't infect the rest of Microsoft's stuff. I don't know, but something that's probably a simplistic way, or a naively simplistic way of looking at security. But I would hope that there must be something Microsoft can do to expedite updates through their certification process, because I've heard time and time again that Xbox Store and Microsoft Store update systems are just not fit for purpose, man. I hear this all the time, and Forspoken is one thing that I am investigating on the Microsoft Store right now for being not updated fast enough. RJ Funtime says, Jez, what Xbox game will be released after Avowed? Huh, that's a good question. So we've got South of Midnight, Doom: The Dark Ages, Avowed, Fable next year, and also Our Worlds, and also rumored Oblivion remake, remaster, potentially. Um, there's also Towerborn. Maybe Towerborn escapes early access this year as well. So I don't know for sure, but I'm just gonna guess that South of Midnight comes after Avowed. Maybe. Maybe we get South of Midnight before the showcase or something like that. That's a pure guess, speculation. It's not a leak. But the reason I think that is the amount of marketing they're doing for South of Midnight and the amount of clips they've been posting on social media. It kind of feels to me like that's the kind of ramp up marketing you do as you get closer towards the proper marketing cycle. Like you'll see, they're not posting clips of Fable. They're not really posting clips of Doom: The Dark Ages yet. So for me, like it does feel a little bit more like the marketing effort is falling towards South of Midnight right now, which would lend credence in my mind that South of Midnight comes first. But I could be wrong. Clockwork Revolution, Mad Fwaz says, what about Clockwork Revolution? Could we see Clockwork Revolution in 2025? I don't think so. I would have to guess Clockwork Revolution is 2026 game. Personally, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, man. We'll see. What else do we have here? Also, chances of seeing Silent Hill release on Xbox this gen. I would say very high chance of Silent Hill releasing on Xbox this gen. I think Konami wants it there. You know, Konami didn't bring back Silent Hill for it to be on one system. So, and also like I would assume that Bloober Team would want it on Xbox as well, because like they've got a vested interest in the game being in as many places at once. And I think the game would sell. So if I had to guess, you probably line up Silent Hill somewhere around Halloween. And also that'd sort of take it up to about a year's worth of exclusivity. So I would not be surprised if Silent Hill 2 launches on Xbox this year. But hey, maybe not. You know, you never know with Microsoft these days. JEZ, I love that Xbox has so many games coming out this year. If Sony announced God of War, everyone would say Xbox has no games. Yeah, maybe. It is what it is, man. People are fickle, you know. Don666 says, Jez, I'm a little late. Hello, we appreciate you here, man. But you're here in Germany, unbelievable. Yes, I'm in Germany right now. I'm in Bavaria. It's snowing here, and it looks very pretty. Looks very pretty. Don Attacker with the 5, thanks Don. If the Switch 2 is close in power to the Series S, I think it will help the S because devs will see the extra optimization as worth it. Oh, I agree entirely. But the problem with that, Don, is that doesn't the Switch 2 have 12 gigabytes of RAM? So I think like I'm sure I read somewhere that the Switch 2 has 12 gigabytes of RAM. So like if it does have 12 gigabytes of RAM, it potentially hurts the Series S more because it further sort of ingrains developers to expect there to be 12 gigabytes of RAM. And the Series S install base, I mean, sure, Series S install base is bigger than the Switch 2 now, but like how fast is the Switch 2 going to overtake the Series S install base? Probably quite quickly, within a year, within a few months. So the Switch 2 could actually make the Series S situation worse. I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure if the Switch 2 has 12 gigabytes of RAM or not, but I'm sure I read that somewhere. I acknowledge I don't investigate Switch Nintendo stuff actively. One Skilblick says, I can't say that, sorry. What do you think about the recent surge of Half-Life rumors? Yeah, so this was another big news story of the last week. The voice actor for G-Man, who's also famously Skibidi Toilet these days, I think, for the kids. G-Man, who's the creepy dude who hangs out in Half-Life 1 and 2, The voice actor for that guy has been posting some cryptic ass messages on Twitter, and the last time he did that was when Half-Life Alyx launched. So a lot of people think this could be the year. This could be the year we get Half-Life 3 announcement finally. I'll believe it when I see it, man. I'll believe it when I see it, for sure. But you know, Half-Life 2 is one of the best games ever made. So if it's a thing, then hell yeah, I'm all for it, man. Farias says, Jez, have you heard anything about the Oblivion remake? The only thing I know about the Oblivion remake, remaster, whatever it is that it's real, and it should be announced this year, or maybe even launching this year. But I don't know anything about what it is, so I don't know if it's just a graphical refresh. I don't know if it's like gameplay tweaked or improved. I would hope it is gameplay tweaked because the gameplay in that game is not going to have aged well. So I would hope that it's more than just a graphical refresh. But we'll see, man. We'll see what happens. But I do think you will see Oblivion remake remaster this year. If my sourcing on that is correct. But I will say that my sourcing on that is secondhand, but it's also reliable secondhand. So it's sort of like, it's the kind of rumor that I would be happy to talk about on the podcast with you guys, because you guys know to take things with a pinch of salt. But it's not something where I'll report it on Windows Central yet, because I don't have physical evidence. I don't have a document. So like when I do reporting on Windows Central, I kind of want some kind of physical evidence, because it's not just my reputation, it's also Windows Central's reputation, which I don't own. So like when I put something on Windows Central, it's like I'm sure beyond all shadow of a doubt. But when it's like here discussing with you guys, and I think I do have a pretty good track record when I go public with things, even on the podcast, they are sort of like not fully confirmed yet, right? This is kind of like for the sake of entertainment and fun, discussion and speculation, because it's fun to speculate, right? But I do think Oblivion remake is going to be revealed this year in some way. I just don't know exactly what kind of remake it's going to be. So what else have we got here with the cool party peeps? Chris with the 5, thanks so much, pal. Are there announced projects that haven't leaked that are exciting you at the moment? I actually don't know. In terms of like, I'm not holding anything back right now. There's nothing that, everything that I know is the same as what you guys know. The same as what I have there. I'm not holding anything back right now. I don't have any, I do have a couple of code names, but I don't know what they're attached to. So I don't know what Microsoft's roadmap looks like right now. It's not like a few years ago, I got a cache of leaked gameplay proposals from various companies. So that's where Project Typhoon came from, which ended up being contraband. I also got Project Dragon, which is now Project Fantasy at IO Interactive. Don't even know if that's still a thing. I also got that Wu-Tang Clan game, Project Shaolin, which again, I don't know if that's even still a thing anymore. I also got Towerborn, which was Project Belfry, if you remember. Now that became a thing, thankfully. But again, where's Contraband? We haven't seen Contraband in forever either. You know, the last I heard about Contraband was over the summer, where I actually got Microsoft PR to let us know whether the game still existed. And it does, it still exists, but it's been, from what I've heard, Contraband's been a very difficult dev cycle. But honestly, Chris, like, out of all the projects that I know about, like, it's nothing that nobody else doesn't know about. I am not holding anything back right now. At least I don't think I am. Like, sometimes I forget things. Like, there's so much stuff that comes through the cycle. I suppose out of the rumored projects that have leaked, that aren't announced or aren't fully confirmed, I'm really interested in Jason Schreier's shooter game leak that Blizzard supposedly working on, the StarCraft Far Cry-like game. I'm really excited about what that could be. Like, it makes your mind run wild, right? Where it's like, oh shit, StarCraft in a Far Cry kind of format? That could be really good. But we don't even know if that's gonna launch. Like Project Odyssey never launched, the Blizzard Survivor game. That got killed off, so we don't know, man. We don't know. JF says, Jez, do you think Valve will launch Deadlock on consoles? So Deadlock, for those who don't know, is Valve's new sort of high mobility hero shooter, by the looks of it. I would hope they launch it on consoles, but they also don't need to launch it on consoles, and also Valve has a hardware platform that they're developing. So at CES 2025, which I guess we'll talk a little bit about, Valve is going to debut third-party Steam Decks. So Lenovo's going to be announcing the Lenovo Legion Go S with Steam. That leaked a little while ago. There's a Lenovo Legion Go with a Steam button on it. So that'll be more powerful than the Steam Deck, probably. And also, it'll be more expensive than a Steam Deck. And so if I was Valve and I wanted to really take on Windows and promote my own platform, having some exclusives is probably a great way of doing it, right? So, like, do you think Half-Life 3 will launch on PlayStation or Xbox? Probably not. You know, I mean, because Valve doesn't have the same goals as Sony and PlayStation. PlayStation and Xbox, sorry. Like, PlayStation and Xbox kind of, like, they've grown as much as they can grow. Whereas, like, Steam is still small in this terms of, like, dedicated hardware space. So they have potentially an interest in having some exclusive games, you know. Whereas Microsoft sees their exclusive as Game Pass, right? I suppose for Steam, they can be like, well, we're going to have Deadlock, we're going to have Half-Life 3 as exclusive to Steam Deck devices, but also on PC or whatever. So, we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. Yomero Soy says, is 2025 the year Jez finishes a game? Yomero, I finished a game yesterday. For those who don't know, I finished Final Fantasy 1 yesterday. Entirely on cloud. So, you know, I actually finished a game in 2025 already. Thank you very much. Final Fantasy 1 was a really, really relaxing, easy, nostalgic, kind of brainless game. I played that entirely on my phone, with an Xbox controller plugged in. That was a ton of fun. Really, really easy. What else have we got here? Blah, blah, blah. JF says, I can't see Xbox. Thank you, JF, for the 5. JF says, I can't see Xbox ever not giving COD a direct after the showcase every summer. I think Xbox wants to continue to let people know where COD is. CJF, you say that, but when I was in London, what was I in London for now? I was in London for Indiana Jones, and there was Call of Duty marketing all over London. There was no mention of Xbox in any of that marketing. It was all Black Ops 6, orange and black, no green, no Xbox at all. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, damn, like, does Xbox, do they not want to tell people that it's associated with Xbox? So I don't know if that was like, I don't know if that was Microsoft, like, not wanting to rock the boat with regulators or something, but I don't know, man. But maybe they will do a direct. I don't want every showcase to be a COD direct. I mean, last year made sense because Black Ops 6 was a big game, been long in development, and it was also the first game dropping into Game Pass. So it was kind of like, it was kind of worth doing it then, but I don't want to see Call of Duty there every year. I don't know what you guys think. How do you guys feel about that? Do you think there should be a Call of Duty direct after every showcase, or should it sometimes be a separate thing? Personally, I would rather it be a separate thing. But yeah. So yeah, there's also a rumor that Diablo 1 is coming to Game Pass. I can see that happening. I tried Diablo 1 recently when it was on Good Old Games, I think, GOG.com. I tried it on there. It's a brutally difficult game. I really want to see Diablo 1 get the Diablo 2 Resurrected treatment. Like, it's kind of it's nostalgic, but it's also like, man, this is a little bit too old school for me. A little bit too old school. I've actually got a semi sort of sorry, hang on. Someone's messaging me. Never mind. So yeah. Let's scroll down here. The chat froze up there for a second. Sometimes I feel like the browser crashes when I have like the chat open for a long time here. But thanks everyone for watching, you know, and hanging out here. You know, if you're not subscribed to the channel, drop a subscription, drop a like, and all that good stuff. Also, we got manscaped.com as our sponsor. Code XB2 for 20% off. Lots of good stuff there. And also, when you get a chance, go and send Rand some well wishes, because Rand is sick. My podcast co-host is ill, which is why we're doing a solo show today. And I'm super close to 6,000 subscribers, man. Which is awesome, considering I never really used the channel. But yeah, I'll tell you guys. I tell Rand the cool stuff you guys have been sending over there. Does Diablo 1 have any console releases? Didn't Diablo 1 launch on PS2 back in the day? Or was that Diablo 2? I feel like Diablo 1 did launch on some console back in the day, but I might be thinking of Diablo 2. It's been a while, man. It's been a while. Solithida says, I've been holding out for Diablo 2 Resurrected to hit Game Pass. Yeah. I have no idea why it's not there yet. They've been super slow putting games up on Game Pass. Like, I would have thought that Diablo would be a good game to put in the buy to own cloud game stuff. But I've heard that like every month they'll be adding, or every sort of month or 2 months, they're going to be adding a wave of new buy to own cloud games. So yeah. So Diablo 2 was on PS1, people say. Interesting. Alan Hoey, I already talked a little bit about the Oblivion remaster. I don't really know anything about it, but other than that, it's a thing that's real, and we should see it this year, maybe. But I'm not entirely 100% sure, which is why I haven't reported on Windows Central yet. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that we'll see it this year in any case. So let's talk a little bit about Xbox's 2025, guys. Because we know that Xbox has the major games coming. We know that Xbox has Avowed coming in February, and then we've got South of Midnight, which is rumored to be getting a launch date soon, probably at the January Developer Direct. We've also got Doom the Dark Ages, which could also be getting a launch date as well. And then we've got Fable, which I imagine Fable will be a headline act at the showcase this year ahead of a full release. We've probably got Towerborn launching this year as well. Have any of you guys been playing Towerborn? Let me know in the comments or let me know in chat. Because Towerborn right now is in early access on PC. I've played it a little bit, but I kind of feel like that's a game you have to play with others to truly enjoy. Because, I don't know, for me, playing Towerborn solo hasn't been particularly fun, I have to admit. And I felt like this was a game that I would enjoy because it's side-scrolling action game, whatever, with Diablo loot system. But I don't find the world to be that appealing. It's like bright and colourful and cartoony. I kind of wish it was a little bit more gritty. So I don't find the world that appealing, but, you know, it's kind of a subjective thing, so. Andy says, do you think Gun will be added to the list of backwards compatible games? I think Microsoft's pretty much done with backwards compatibility now. I think they have said that they went through every single game they could that didn't have some kind of licensing issue. I know some people are kind of holding out hope that there'll be a final wave of ABK games hitting backwards compatibility, but I guess it remains to be seen, right? I guess we'll see what happens. So outside of Xbox's games that are launching this year, and I think they're all going to launch to like decent acclaim, I can see all four of those games getting above 8 out of 10. Towerborn maybe will get around a 7 or something. So I can see Xbox having a good game on the first party front, and then like they'll probably have a strong showcase where they'll talk about next year's games and also the fall games. So you know, Black Ops, Call of Duty again, and I think what's the rumor for the next Call of Duty? Is it another Black Ops? I think, or something like that. I can't remember. So we'll have Call of Duty again for the fall, which you know is on everything, I guess. But then we've got things like Clockwork Revolution, I'm expecting the games I'm expecting to see at the showcase this year or at some point this year with gameplay. Clockwork Revolution, Everwild, State of Decay 3. Those are 3 games I'm expecting to see with gameplay this year, and maybe Perfect Dark as well. I would hope they'd have something for Contraband, but I almost wonder if like Contraband hasn't been literally reworked into something else. Because like originally I heard Contraband was supposed to be this vehicular combat game, which was revolved around heisting and, you know, vehicle combat, like using the vehicular combat systems from Mad Max and Rage 2. And the whole game was revolved around that. But kind of heard that maybe they've decided to revamp it into something more, but at the same time, I kind of feel like if you do make Contraband more of an open world shooter action game with vehicles, isn't that not just going against Grand Theft Auto Online at that point? And Grand Theft Auto Online will absolutely bury Contraband. So I think it'll be interesting to see if Contraband can find its voice. It'd be interesting to see if they can retain their voice, given what's on the horizon with Grand Theft Auto 6. But I have no idea what Contraband looks like now. You know, I know what it was originally pitched as, but now we're sort of like, it's been a while, man. It's been a whole while. That geeky nerd sucks to be an Xbox console gamer. Case in point, Towerborn. Is that because Towerborn isn't on Xbox right now? Dior Amaro says, multi-platform predictions already done or not yet? I've already said that I think every game is going to be timed exclusive now. I think every game that will make money on PlayStation will eventually go to PlayStation. If not day one, then a little bit later. I think a lot of games will launch later on PlayStation. Just to get new users and find new, you know, sources of revenue. But, you know, when I said it, everyone was mad at me. But when Jason Schreier said it in his predictions, everyone was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But Jason Schreier said it in his predictions that the console install base is sort of stuck. It's not growing anymore. There's no more growth to be had, which means in order to grow the revenue when costs are rising, you have to sell more software. And to sell more software, you have to put your software in more places, you know. And I think there is a universe where maybe cloud or PC grows to a point where Xbox thinks, okay, well, putting our games on PlayStation is hurting us now, so maybe we should stop. But I think at least in today's current climate, they have to keep doing the multi-platform thing. But I also think there is a point where they will stop doing it. It's all about money. If they do get to a point where putting things on PlayStation actually starts hurting them, then they'll stop doing it. But for right now, they don't feel like it's hurting them at all. And we can debate whether it is or not till the cows come home. But that's why they're doing it. It's pure money. It's purely about money. The Beer Baron says, why did they just announce everything on PlayStation and be done with it? Well, I think the reason is, like, the reason they're not announcing everything for PlayStation right now is because they don't want to put extra pressure on the teams. A lot of those teams are not set up for simultaneous multi-platform development, and they are only making their games for one platform. And the ports will happen afterwards, either by the studio or by a support studio third party. So I don't think they want to just sort of go all in saying, like, everything's coming to PlayStation, because I think for some games, they still don't know for sure if they are going to come to PlayStation. I just think nothing's off the table. So, like, if they do have a support studio lined up and the developer does have a window to do a port, then the port will happen. But, like, for some games, it'll just be an incidental case of, well, we don't have a support, we don't have a studio to do this port, we don't have the dev kits available, whatever. There'll be some incidental reason why it doesn't happen, which is the only reason why we don't have Final Fantasy 16 on Xbox right now. There's nothing stopping Final Fantasy 16 coming to Xbox except the bandwidth of actually making that port happen. So Square Enix want to do the port themselves, but they're setting up the teams, the pipeline in place to do that port, you know. So I think Final Fantasy 16 will happen on Xbox. It's just a matter of time. And I think that's going to be the same reason why, you know, Xbox hasn't announced everything on PlayStation. It's just going to be a matter of time. And I suppose some games, they don't want to commit to a PlayStation version yet if it doesn't make sense to do the port. But yeah, I don't know. Silas says, hey, and welcome, buddy. How successful do you think Game Pass really is? Well, you can do the math yourself, you know. We know there's 35 million users or 32 million users. I can't remember. What was the last figure? And, like, you know, multiply that by 10 as your sort of low ball estimate, and then multiply it by 20 as your high ball estimate. That's how much money is coming in from Game Pass, and that doesn't include microtransactions, free marketing, halo effect, SEO, and all that kind of extra benefit that Game Pass delivers. So that's how successful it is in money terms. And then if Microsoft knows how much money they're making from Game Pass, that's how much money they've got to spend on content for Game Pass to help it grow and market Game Pass. So I would say that Game Pass is very successful. It's been a linchpin of their strategy, and I don't think anyone can deny that it's been successful. You know, maybe it's sort of hit its ceiling now, at least on console. But I think as time goes on, I think cloud will increasingly be the vehicle where Game Pass finds its success. Personally, Windows Box says Transformers on Game Pass. See, that's the franchise that I constantly see people asking for on backwards compatibility is Activision's Transformers games. And Hasbro seems to have expressed interest in doing that. But it's not just Hasbro that has the final say, because there'll be sound effects in there. There'll be other things under contract and under license that Microsoft has to figure out the licensing for. Because if Microsoft doesn't cross every T and dot every I, someone in that supply chain will sue Microsoft for licensing a game that they didn't have the rights to license. So, like, it's not just about Hasbro, it's also about all the other stakeholders in those original Transformers games agreeing to it. And the problem is some of those entities may not even exist anymore, you know, which is why the MechAssault games aren't on backwards compatibility. Like, some of the contracts that Microsoft made for the BattleTech franchise, for the video game versions of the BattleTech universe, some of the companies that were involved in those contract signings no longer exist. So, like, Microsoft's very reluctant to really fully commit to doing anything with BattleTech that isn't sort of licensing out to other companies. Which I think's a damn shame, because BattleTech is a really interesting universe. MechWarrior and stuff like that. And it's kind of a waste. But the company that owns the tabletop version of BattleTech supposedly hard to deal with. or something. So it's just a licensing nightmare with that franchise. And I suppose it's the same situation with Transformers to some degree. What else we got here? Shadowblade member says, when do we get Zenless Zone and Honkai Star Rail on Xbox, JEZ? Good question, buddy. Good question. I don't know. We've got we did get Genshin Impact, and I think Honkai Star Rail, I think actually has an exclusivity deal in place. But Zenless Zone Zero, I'm not entirely sure if there's an exclusivity deal in place. I would expect that there is, but you know, since we got Genshin, you can expect Honkai and Zenless to eventually come as well. Especially, you know, both of them are really popular games, and the way that Genshin is on Xbox Cloud Gaming, like with the native touch controls, I think that's fantastic. I don't know if you guys have tried Genshin Impact on cloud, but just like, even if you're not going to play Genshin Impact, just go and try the touch controls. They are the best touch controls that an Xbox Cloud game has ever had. It was really well done. It's literally the Android control scheme. It's just perfect, you know. And that's how all service games should be. They should have those controls, you know. Web Dave with the 199, thanks man. JEZ, will we ever see Game Pass Family Pass? Hit the like button. Yeah, thanks man. I've heard that Microsoft still wants to do the Family Pass thing. I've heard that. So I'm going to say yes, we will get Family Pass eventually. I just have no idea when and how much it's going to cost. I think they decided that it was too cheap. So like maybe if they do a family plan, it's going to be something like $29.99 a month. But for people with big families, that'll probably still be really, really worth it. Like I would get Game Pass Family Plan for my family if they dropped it. But like publishers are nervous about it, I think. And they're kind of like, well, how does that affect our revenue stream? Or how does that affect, like, how do we get paid if you guys are giving away all these extra licenses for free and stuff like that? I do hope they do it. I do really hope they do it. Because I would be there day one, you know, even if it was $34.99 maybe. But again, it's kind of like, it's all them publishers and license holders who are kind of holding it back. Zach Riley says, JEZ, Heroes of the Storm has been getting a pretty steady flow of updates again lately. Any chance it will get new content or maybe a console port too? I keep asking sources about this, and sometimes there are things that they will tell me, and sometimes there are things that they will be really coy about because they don't want to. They know that I'll struggle to not leak it. Because it's like something I'd be excited about. So when I ask about Heroes of the Storm, I often get stonewalled or get sort of a coy reply. Because yeah, Heroes of the Storm is getting steady updates again. Lots of balance updates, which is really cool to see. I think like Heroes of the Storm would be an ideal game. It will be an ideal game to bring to mobile devices and cloud. And Pokemon Unite and League of Legends, or what's it called now? The League of Legends mobile game. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. But that proves that MOBAs can work with touch and work with the controller. Like, even though like Pokemon Unite is a pay-to-win hellscape, it's a fun game. It's well made and it works well with the controller. Like I would love that. That they do Wild Rift. That's right. I would love that they did a mobile and console version of Heroes of the Storm. You could also put Doom Guy in there. You could also put Master Chief in there. All that kind of stuff. It's perfect, man. But part of me just wonders, like, is there the appetite for it? Does Microsoft think it's worth doing? Sometimes I think Microsoft just they don't have the taste, and they don't have the will to do some things sometimes, or look backwards, and they think, oh, we've been there, done that, and it's just, there's nowhere to work. But you know, I want to believe, man. I want to believe, but I also kind of don't believe. By the way, I've just put a new super chat goal up. If we hit 15 super chats, I will give away a headset. I've got headsets to give away, so I will give away. What have I got? I've got a bunch of Turtle Beach headsets, so I'll give away a Turtle Beach headset if we get to 15 more super chats before we get out of it. Served Cold says, any word on the Xbox haptic controller? So actually, yes, we have a patent for the Xbox haptic controller, which is called Project Sibyl, which is the name of an Arthurian princess or something, code name. The patent came out, and it does show the Sibyl controller, you know, with the weird little trousers and stuff, and it has these motors which can move around and provide like high definition haptics, in addition to like all the other stuff like lift to wake, direct cloud support for reducing latency, all that kind of stuff. It does seem like that controller's going ahead, and from what I've heard, it is still a thing and it is going to be launched. I just don't know if it's going to be launched until next gen. It might be the next gen controller at this point, but we'll have to wait and see. So Windowbox asks, People Can Fly develop AAA Xbox IP in 2025 for Xbox Showcase. Yeah, so People Can Fly, they made Outriders, right? They're supposedly working on an Xbox game, and they had some layoffs. They had some layoffs a little while ago. And but it didn't affect the Xbox game they're working on, supposedly. So hopefully the Xbox game will be safe. But I don't know if we'll see it this year. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully we do. Hopefully we do. I also really want to see like that Project Fantasy game that IO was supposed to be working on. Goat Gaming with the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much, dude. Really, really appreciate that, man. You're awesome. Thank you so much. We also have... What else do we got here? I want to see more crossovers. They need to start having fun, says Zach Riley. I mean, there was this story with the whole Halo and Doom thing on that TV show. What was it called now? Oh man, what was it called? Is it Secret Level? The Amazon Prime show with all the Amazon Prime show with all the little vignettes about different video games. Like I heard the Unreal Tournament one was really good. Secret Level, yeah. There was this whole story where they pitched a Doom guy Master Chief crossover, and Microsoft said no, apparently. And I think I talked about it at the start of the show that maybe it was like they really want tight control over the Halo IP since they're going to be rebooting it with the remake of Halo CE, which is the rumor. But I also think, like, who cares? You know, Doom with Master Chief, that would have been fun and cool. And it's like, why doesn't Microsoft want to do that kind of stuff? You know, like, seriously, like, if I was Microsoft, I would hire a small team to just put, like, surely you probably don't need that many people to just add a few new characters, some Heroes of the Storm, add Doom Guy to Heroes of the Storm, add Master Chief to Heroes of the Storm, and just see what happens. See if some people come back to the game. You know, it can't be that much of an investment to like, you know, design a character, slap some skills on it, and rig it up, give him a couple of skins, and just whack it into the game and see what happens. Because they're still updating the game. So clearly there's like a bunch of people at Blizzard who are maintaining that game. Surely there's like, you know, surely they can hire like, I don't know, 10 people to put some extra content in Heroes of the Storm, you know? But it's whatever, man. I suppose in their mind it's like, well, that's 10 people that could be working on World of Warcraft or Overwatch or whatever, but I don't know. If I was running Xbox, I'd be wasting money on all kinds of things, man. I'd be doing like Halo TV, like I'd be doing the Secret Level thing. I'd be making a Halo anime. I'd be doing a Doom anime. I'd be hiring Trigger Studio to make TV shows of everything. You know. Dark Fox says, bring back Warcraft 4. Yeah, man. I'd be making Warcraft 4. I'd be commissioning, you know, studios to do. I'd have Halo Wars 3 on the go. I'd have all that shit being done, man. I'd be spending all the profits on all kinds of dumb stuff, and then I'd probably run Xbox out of business. Rip. Painful Discourse with 10 says, any achievement revamp news? I've heard, Painful, that Microsoft does want to revamp achievements, and it is on their to-do list. It's just low down on the to-do list. Right now, top of the to-do list is improving xCloud, integrating Activision Blizzard, and also working on this cross-platform interface for all their games. So, like, even if you're playing an Xbox game on PlayStation, you can still open the Xbox guide within that game. So it's like your PlayStation is an Xbox, right? I've heard that's something that a lot of developers are working on within Xbox right now. But that improvements to achievements are still something that they want to deliver. It's just not high priority right now. Silas with the 5. Why doesn't Blizzard take the Warcraft IP and expand it to different genres to expand it to different audiences? It did start as an RTS. I agree. I think if Blizzard was ever gonna make a Souls-like, a Warcraft franchise would be pretty good for it. But also the Diablo franchise, maybe. You could do a Warcraft Souls-like set in the Eastern Kingdoms during Warcraft 3. You could play as a paladin who is trying to fight his way through the Scourge invasion. Maybe he starts in Silverpine Forest and fights his way across Lordaeron through all the way to Stratholme, and it's just zombies and mutant freaks, and then maybe the last boss is Arthas or Kel'Thuzad or something like that. I don't know. But I do think that Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo, and even Overwatch, I think if those are the four, if Warcraft, StarCraft, Overwatch, and Diablo are the 4 pillar Blizzard franchises, all of them potentially lend themselves well to different genres. Like, you could do, like, all kinds of stuff, man. You could do, like, Warcraft action game, the StarCraft Far Cry game that's supposedly coming out. You could do Overwatch shooter as well. There's all sorts of stuff you could do, man. I suppose it's bandwidth, and because all of those games are service games at this point, all the developers working on those games are pretty much non-stop working on content for their end games, right? Like Warcraft is a monstrously expensive game to make, and Warcraft has a big expansion, a free update patch coming out this month, which is going to add a whole new region, new storyline, new raid, new stuff to do, tons of new assets, blah 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 blah. Like, would they ever even have time to make another game? I don't know. Diablo 4 will be ever released for Windows Store natively. Isn't it already on the Windows Store natively? I thought it was. What do you mean by natively? Oh, because it opens up in Battle.net? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what Microsoft's plans are for Battle.net or whatever. It is a bit weird the way that Battle.net and Xbox Store interact. I don't know what Microsoft's plans are for that. I think they should just go all in on one or the other. I don't think they should. I think it's weird that they're trying to run 2 storefronts, but the problem is that Battle.net has tens of millions of monthly active users. So it's kind of like, do you really want to disrupt them? Do you really want to disrupt that system when it's like successful as it is? You know? It's kind of difficult to figure out. Mazer Tech says, Conquer Bad Souls Day. Could Conquer work as a Souls-like? You kind of made me think of that crab Souls-like. What's it called? I can't remember. There was like a Souls-like where you play as a hermit crab. Kind of reminded me of that when you said that. Silas says, JEZ, if Blizzard made a Warcraft walking sim, then you could finally have a legitimate Warcraft discussion with Rand. Yeah, sure could, pal. Well, that's another thing that we haven't discussed for a while, is that Activision opened a studio in Poland who were going to make a narrative action game. So, what are they working on? Could we see that this year? Whatever that Activision studio is working on? I can't remember what they're called now. But they opened a studio in Poland, and they're I think, don't they also have a satellite office in Sweden now? They're working on some new IP. So, that's interesting. Painful Discourse says, with the 10 PLN, which I think is Polish monies. Another one, any Quake news? Any Quake news? I don't know anything about what's going on with Quake. But you have to think about it, right? You have to wonder, what are they gonna do after Doom the Dark Ages ships? They've got Quake to work on, and they've also got potentially they now have access. id now potentially has access to the Hexen IP again. Now that, because Activision owned Hexen, now Microsoft own Activision, so now Microsoft owns Hexen. And then Phil also wore a Hexen t-shirt at one of the events. So part of me's wondering if id brings back Hexen. I think that would be fucking cool. So like, for those who don't know, Hexen is basically Doom, but you play as a wizard. You know? I think that'd be rad. I think that'd be fucking cool, man. So we'll see that, man. What else we got here? Yeah, so that Polish studio is called Elsewhere Entertainment, and that's another Microsoft studio that we have no idea what they're working on. Silver Sewa says, Jez, have you heard anything about Dev Direct? I haven't yet, but I haven't had time to investigate it, but there is a rumor that we are getting Dev Direct in January, but we have had a Dev Direct in January for the past 2 years. Was any of them in February? I think they were all in January, right? So yeah, it's no surprise we're getting a Dev Direct this month, but we'll see. After Doom and Blade, what's next from Bethesda? Good question, man. I have no idea. Part of me's hoping that Bethesda's working on a big expansion for Starfield. I feel like Starfield still has so much untapped potential. Like, when I look at the Starfield subreddit, people are talking about they want improvements to POIs or have space POIs, like points of interest. They want to have, like, improvements to space combat, improvements to base building. Like, there's so much stuff in Starfield that feels like half finished. It's kind of annoying that the game hasn't had a more rapid cadence of updates. But we do know that they're working on Elder Scrolls 6. You have to believe that they're figuring out some kind of strategy for Fallout 5. Whether they build a new studio for it, or whether they, you know, spin up a new team internally for it, whatever. We've also got the ZeniMax online game. Yeah, fun speculation in the chat with what's happening with ZeniMax Online. Because there's also, I don't know if any of you guys here are aware of this, but there's also some drama within the Elder Scrolls Online community right now. Apparently, Elder Scrolls Online isn't getting updates as much as it was anymore. And it seems increasingly like ZeniMax is moving more of its developers out of ZeniMax. Moving some of its developers out of Elder Scrolls Online to work on this new successor MMO. Which sounds like it's a new IP. But, I don't know. We'll see what happens, man. There's so much that ZeniMax or Bethesda and those guys can do. But one thing we're definitely not getting is The Evil Within 3. And I am particularly sad about this. Although Tango Gameworks lives on within Krafton. They announced that they're now called Tango Gameworks Incorporated. And they're under Krafton. They have the Hi-Fi Rush IP. But they don't have the Evil Within IP. But part of me wants Microsoft to license it out to them because I want the Evil Within 3. But does Microsoft want to make horror games? Probably not. The Winter Shoulder, that's a cool name, says, I'm surprised there's no Overwatch JRPG or TV series. Yeah, like an Overwatch JRPG? That'd be sick, actually. You know, with the social links and stuff. Like, get Atlas to make it, man. License it out. and then maybe you can like romance Widowmaker and stuff. That'd be cool, man. That'd be cool. Shadowblade says, Jez, who you got on the Netflix debut for Raw, Punk or Seth? Oh man, I'm going with. I want Seth to win, but I kind of know that Punk's gonna win because I think they're building Punk up for another championship run. I kind of feel like the way that Punk talks in his promos recently, where he says things like, he always announces the attendance records now, and he always addresses the crowd and the WWE Universe directly, like he's positioned himself as the person to carry the company. I think Punk is going to have another championship run as the champion. After Cody. Maybe Punk's the one who takes it from Cody. Because the rumor right now is that it's going to be Cena versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. That's the rumor. So if that's true, then obviously Cody Rhodes is going to win that. But after WrestleMania, maybe it's CM Punk who feuds with Cody and eventually gets the championship. I don't know. We'll see. What else we got here? Mesa Texas Starfield version Elder Scrolls Online. I always thought Starfield feels like an offline MMO, man. Like all these huge planets kind of almost feel like they were designed for other players to be there. It kind of feels like an empty version of No Man's Sky in some ways. Obviously, it's got a more compelling single player element than No Man's Sky, I think, but I don't know. People were thinking, oh yeah, so Double Fine tweeted today with a picture from Raz from Psychonauts. Some people got them thinking it's Psychonauts 3. Hey, maybe. I mean, we don't really know what Double Fine's working on next. A lot of people think it's a multiplayer game, but I don't know, man. I kind of feel like in 2024, multiplayer games, like, they either need to be like these huge blockbuster things or something that's so unique and memeable that it can sort of become a trending hit on TikTok and stuff. Kind of like Among Us. Can Double Fine make a game like that? I have no idea, but maybe whatever Double Fine's working on is the next Among Us thing that's going to really blow up, but we'll see. Kojima posted an update about OD. Any kind of game, what it is, we'll see in 2025. I think it's probably going to be a narrative horror game, kind of like in the vein of PT, maybe. Narrative walking simulator kind of thing. I hope there's more to it than that, but I don't know. My expectations are low for OD, but we'll probably see it in 2025. Because Sean Thompson said, did you see Double Fine's tweet today? Yes, I did. We just talked about it. Sorry about that. You got in a little bit late there, pal. Septic Sauce Gaz with the 5 says, Jez loves hentai. Sure do, baby. All about them tentacles, bro. Tentacruel, baby. From Pokemon. Tentacruel X Misty. Don't Google that with Safe Search turned off, guys. Fuck. Demonetized. So, gang, I think I'm going to take some Patreon questions now, but keep the questions coming on your end. Sorry, this show is weird and unstructured. Like it's difficult to like read the chat and sort of structure a show at the same time, but hopefully there's been some interesting things for you guys here. I'm gonna do the Patreon Q&A thread now, since you know, that's rocking out there. But if you've enjoyed the show, smash the like button, you know what the cool YouTubers say, and you know, share it out and all that good stuff. And Mesa Tech says it's fun, unstructured. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I do think, like, I do worry that the unstructuredness of it is maybe hard to listen to on Spotify. It's when you're here engaging with it, then it's a little bit different. But like for people who listen after on Spotify, shout out to you guys. I do wonder how you feel about it. So if you are listening on Spotify, go on Spotify and drop a comment and tell me how you feel about these kind of shows, or should these shows be left on YouTube? I am going to upload this show on Spotify to see what people think of it, though. So, yeah, let's see. So, if you do want to drop, if you do want to support some Patreon, it's to patreon.com/XB2. You get guaranteed Q&A every week, and then also extra shows, at least two per month, and there are a bunch of other, goodies, shout-outs, and all kinds of stuff, and links in the description there. So the first Patreon question comes from Oh My God Turtle 73, who says, "Yo, JEZ solo show, the best of the solo shows. 2 questions for you. Obligatory question. Do you think we get either FF7 or FF16 this year? Also, out of all the Xbox first-party content coming this year, which has the best chance of winning Game of the Year at the Keighleys? Have a great show." That's a really good question. So, we talked a little bit earlier about Final Fantasy VII Remake and FF16. I think we do see FF16 at least announced for Xbox this year. I don't know. This is just my opinion. Speculatorily, that's not a word. I just made it up. To speculate, Final Fantasy 16 will at least be announced for Xbox this year. I think Final Fantasy 7 is going to come later. I would think that potentially there's some kind of exclusivity clause in that the whole trilogy needs to launch on PlayStation before they can explore putting it on other platforms. But like they keep talking about going multi-platform constantly when people ask. So I think Final Fantasy 7 Remake is definitely coming to Xbox eventually. I think all Square Enix games in the future will come to Xbox day one. Yeah, so it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of waiting. And while you're waiting, go and play the Pixel remasters, because obviously, like, if we are buying and playing the Pixel remasters, that will inform Square Enix that it's actually worth doing, you know. I was bitching at Microsoft for years, give me the Pixel remasters, you know, and now that they're here, I feel like, you know, I'm actually going to play them. Like, I put my money where my mouth is. Like, I asked for these games, and so I'm going to bloody play them, because I really, really want them. I also really want Monster Hunter Stories, by the way, Microsoft, if you're listening, which you almost certainly aren't. So, yeah, what else do we got? We've got good old Collingwood. Oh, no. Oh my God, Turtles. Also, as out of all the Xbox first party coming out this year, which has the best chance of winning Keighleys? That's a good question. I wonder what you guys think in chat. Which game do you think has the best chance of winning at the Keighleys? I think if Fable launches within a reasonable time frame, as in like, because the cut-off date for the Keighleys is like mid-November, something like that. I think if Fable launches in October, I think Fable probably has the best chance of winning at the Keighleys. There's like a recency bias there, but I also I've seen Fable gameplay. I've seen raw Fable gameplay now, and it looks on a quality bar that Microsoft typically doesn't hit with action games. So I think Fable could be the first Xbox game of the year we've had in a long fucking time. When was the last time Microsoft won at the Keighleys? Was it ever? Have they ever won at the Keighleys? I honestly don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. But also Cameron Partlow makes a good point. Like, Indiana Jones should win, but people forget it by then. So Indiana Jones should be eligible for this year's Game Awards. But nobody's going to remember it by then, and there'll be recency bias working against it. So, but yeah, there's also Doom, you know, but there's also Grand Theft Auto to worry about. So, like, could Grand Theft Auto probably just sweep everything if it launches this year? Probably, maybe, definitely. We'll have to wait and see. So the next question is from Patreon, good old Collingwood. Thanks, Collingwood. Hello, JEZ. I caught the Xbox 2 -1+2 just before New Year's midnight. So my last podcast of the year. What Windows Central article you wrote last year that you are most proud of? Man, that's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head. Like, you guys know I have a pretty bad memory in general. So when I think about what articles I wrote in the past year, I usually just post them and then my brain moves on to the next thing I'm supposed to be doing. I'm proud of some of the analysis I wrote this year. Like, my article in December, inside the risky strategy that'll define Xbox's next decade, that did really well. A lot of people read that, and that appeared in CNN even. So the fact that appeared in CNN, which I know CNN is a bit of a dodgy news outlet, but it was kind of cool to see it appear in such a prominent news outlet. You know, obviously the BBC would be. If I ever appeared in the BBC, that would be like. Well, actually, I was on BBC Radio a long time ago. But if any of my articles ever appeared in the BBC, that'd be like a bucket list kind of thing for me. But I honestly don't know. I don't know. Yeah. So appearing in CNN was pretty rad. There was also like I actually did for those who are looking and paying attention. I actually did a lot of reporting on the Lenovo Legion Go line this year. I leaked the Lenovo Legion Go S. I was the first in the world to report on that, and also like I was the first person who shared the renders of the Legion Go S. First person in the world, so I was pretty pleased with that. That was probably my biggest leak, quote unquote, of the year. So that was a good one. We also did like a lot of reporting on the whole multi-platform stuff. I don't know, but it's only worth it when you know, you guys enjoy it. Like, I don't write for myself, I write for you guys. So the fact that you guys support me is you know, something that I'm constantly humbled about. So thanks to all of you guys. So in the next super chat, we've got Omen. This is an interesting question. Omen says, I recently broke my elbow and can only play games with one hand. Do you have any one-handed game recommendations? Actually, Omen, yes, I do. I've been playing Final Fantasy 1 with one hand. So, like, the way I play it is, I put my thumb on the D-pad and then use my other fingers on my little finger and what is that, my ring finger, on the ABXY button. So those are all you need. So, like, I'll be lying in bed with one hand on the controller and the other hand, like, eating nachos or something. So I was like, oh shit, I can actually play this one-handed. So the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster Collection is really good for playing on cloud. If you wanna, you know, give that a try. But Alan Hoey in chat says point-and-click adventure games. One game that I'm quite excited for that's coming out soon is the Broken Sword Remaster, which is another point-and-click adventure game. I love that game as a kid, man. Did anyone here play Broken Sword on PS1 back in the day? Fucking love that game, dude. So the next question is from Ethan Lynn Jerez VA. Hello there, dude. Hey there, guys. Hope you had a great holiday season. This is my first time writing in on a show, so I'm excited to join in on the fun. I'm a massive fan of RPGs, and one of the RPGs I've loved since 2009 is Dragon Age. To me, it seems Valguard was extremely middling with some truly great moments, but an insane amount of potential squandered due to them restarting development 2 or 3 times. This resulted in so much bad writing, lore issues, etc. My question is, although I give the game a 7, it seems like BioWare is not out of the woods yet. Can Dragon Age, or even BioWare in general, be saved? I have hope for Mass Effect 5, but who knows? Man, Ethan, I feel exactly the same way as you. Like, Dragon Age for me is a low 7. Like, it's weird with Dragon Age, because it's like, sometimes, like, when you do, like, the climactic missions of an act, they're like really well done. It's like, oh wow, this is really good, and this is old school BioWare, and it feels great. And then, like, you go back to sort of the build up to the climax of the act, and it's like, shit, man, this is awful. Dialogue is terrible. The characters are just horrible and rude, and I don't like them or care about them. Like, it was a struggle. It was a pain to get through as far as I did. I put like 40 hours into Dragon Age Valguard, and I just had to put it down. And just be like, this game is just not for me, as much as I've loved the franchise up to this point. And I agree with you that BioWare is definitely not out of the woods. In fact, I even think there's probably discussions at EA where they're like, do we even bother trying with Mass Effect 5? Because BioWare has not had a hit for years and years and years and years, and they have to be looking at what happened with Dragon Age Valguard now, which, you know, is by all accounts probably a flop. You know, it's not going to have made its money back. It was in development for a million years, and those are all people's salaries you've had to pay over all this time to have like no return on that investment. I have to be wondering if we even see Mass Effect 5 right now. I personally think we never see Dragon Age again. I think Dragon Age Vanguard is the last Dragon Age game you are ever getting. And, you know, as much as that pains me to say, as a huge fan of Origins, I don't think we see Dragon Age ever again. The best you can hope for is Mass Effect 5. But honestly, again, even with Mass Effect 5, it's like, do we even see Mass Effect 5? You know, is BioWare gonna like survive the quarterly layoffs rounds that are almost certainly coming for EA? I don't know, man. I don't know. The Winter Shoulder with $5 super chat, thank you. So how does Xbox manage the multiplayer strategy with Sony and Nintendo aggressively fighting for market share and third parties giving Xbox lower priority? I mean, I don't know if I agree that Xbox has had lower priority. Like, they've got you have to put things into perspective. They never had Yakuza before. They were ignored for Final Fantasy. They didn't get Genshin Impact, and they didn't get all this stuff. They didn't get Persona games. So, in a way, Xbox has had better third-party support than it's ever had. You know, the fact that, like, we've started getting Final Fantasy now, and we've started getting Genshin Impact now, and we've started getting Atlas games, we've started getting Yakuza, and, you know, there are developers who also came to Xbox first this year, like Palworld came to Xbox first, Stalker 2 came to Xbox first, so I'm not sure I completely agree. When you zoom out, and you actually ignore Twitter for a minute and you actually look at everything that's going on, Xbox has had some really good multi-platform, really good third-party support, right? But at the same time, I agree with you that it's difficult to see a path forward for Xbox when Nintendo and Sony are fighting way more aggressively. Like, they have way more marketing, whereas Microsoft's only marketing Game Pass. PlayStation's marketing PlayStation console. And Nintendo's going to be going all in on marketing the Switch 2. So where does that leave Xbox in that equation? I do agree that I would love to see Microsoft be more aggressive, but I also think Microsoft's spreading themselves thinly right now. But Microsoft also has threat from SteamOS, so they want to make sure that, like, SteamOS doesn't become the default PC gaming handheld. Like, they want Windows to be the default gaming PC handheld, so they have to deal with that issue. And also they've got like cloud, so they're like fighting Nvidia GeForce Now for like who's going to be the first to mainstream cloud gaming. But like, I think like cloud gaming at least is something worth pursuing, because you have to remember cloud is also Xbox console. Every Xbox cloud user is an extra console user. So if I was Microsoft, I would be like at least pursuing cloud harder. But then I'd also be standing on a mountaintop yelling to people, this is working now. This is working for us. And I would also make cloud... I would also have like a cloud-only device in the works, because TVs aren't the best way to access cloud. You know, they don't have the best Wi-Fi antennas and shit like that. So I do think Microsoft should push harder on cloud. But I don't think it's as bad... I don't think it's as bad as people make out. I really don't. But yeah. But yeah, I don't think it's as bad as I don't think it's as bad as it seems with Xbox. But I think Microsoft could do more to fix the optics there. So Darren Bowden with a $10 super chat. Thanks, buddy. State of Decay 3 announced in July 2020. So probably started development a year or two before. Do you think this is or very close to being completed? Or will this be kept back until 2026? I'm not sure if State of Decay fully started development in 2018. I don't think it started full development until like 2022 actually, because they had like a lot of integration issues with Undead Labs, and they also had like I can't remember his name now. The previous studio head of Undead Labs, he sort of moved on. So there was this, for a time it was like there was an issue integrating Undead Labs, And also State of Decay 2 was updated very aggressively for a really long time, even though it wasn't a service game. Or like it didn't have any microtransactions or anything. It's really interesting how they supported State of Decay 2, even though like, you know, didn't have a huge community back in it, or it didn't have like a strong monetization scheme behind it. So, however, I have heard that State of Decay 3 is nearing the end of development, and I have heard that it is targeting a 2026 launch date. I did hear that there was some possibility it could have launched in 2025 towards the end of the year, but it sounds as though they're gonna keep it for 2026. So if I had to guess and speculate right now, I think it launches maybe in the spring of 2026. That's my prediction. RP Spacey says JEZ and Jason Schreier's 2025 predictions. He predicted Microsoft going full third party. What, he thinks they're going to stop making hardware? Like, I know for a fact that isn't true. So, Microsoft's not going to stop making hardware anytime soon. From what I've heard, there's the expectation within Microsoft that Microsoft will still make hardware at least for another 20 years. So I'm not worried about that. But I do think they'll be putting more games on PlayStation for sure. But they're still going to make hardware for people who want to stay on the Xbox platform. As long as there's people here, they're not going to stop making hardware. What else do we have? Right, we got Sierra11 Kevin. Hi, Jez and Rand. As always, appreciate you both. Do you believe console exclusives matter anymore? I'm in the Xbox ecosystem, but while PlayStation has some incredible games, it still isn't enough for me to invest in their console and ecosystem, and system sales would point to the same thing with PlayStation owners not leaving for Xbox. To have a game that really blows up in popularity probably requires a large user base to survive. Free-to-play as an example, and would be challenging to remain exclusive. I was thinking about it recently when scanning through the games on sale and in awe of how much content we really have. If one game isn't on my system, there probably is something comparable I could still try. Seems like console exclusives somewhat get lost in all the multi-platform content available, much different than 8 to 16-bit days where there was less software available and lower access to that software. Nintendo is the one company that certainly counters my argument. For me personally, I always fall for the nostalgia, but ultimately I don't buy much content on the Nintendo system. Sierra11 Kevin, you are me. So I look at PlayStation and the games that I'm missing out on, and while I appreciate the PlayStation games that exist and like appreciate them for their technical and artistic prowess, they aren't enough to make me want to switch platform, you know. And it's compounded by the fact that those games are now on PC. So I own God of War, I own Ghost of Tsushima, I own all these games on PC, you know. So the argument that I often hear PlayStation guys use against Xbox that, oh, well, all Xbox games are on PC. I mean, I can kind of counter that by saying, well, all the PlayStation games are also on PC. So, you know, it works both ways. And I think it does for the general public as well. I think for a lot of people, they look at God of War and stuff like that, and it's just like, well, I'm just happy playing Fortnite, you know. But even beyond like God of War, or even if you're not someone who cares about the service games like Fortnite and you are more of a core gamer who prefers a variety or plurality of gaming content, there's so much compelling content on Xbox that I can't even get through it. I can't even get through what I have, you know. So why would I want to add to that? You know, I can't even get through the content that I have. And I suspect a lot of people listening to this, you probably have insane backlogs as well, right? So, but Nintendo is the one company that counters the argument, because I think Nintendo machines basically are for exclusives. I think a lot of people, when they get a Nintendo Switch, it's basically just for the Nintendo games, right? I don't think a lot of people play multi-platform games on Switch unless they're kind of like indie games and stuff like that. But even then, it's like all those indie games are on PC and generally most of them are on Xbox as well, and probably they'll run better on Xbox. So I think it's okay to play wherever you want. Like, I prefer the Xbox ecosystem. I like my cloud saves. I like my Game Pass. I like the controller. That's it for me. You know, that's why I will play on Xbox, and that's why I'll stick on Xbox. Even if they do stupid stuff, as long as Xbox still gives me new hardware and at least tries to bring me the games that I want. We asked them for Persona, they delivered Persona. We asked them for Final Fantasy Pixel remasters and Final Fantasy in general, and they're delivering that now. I have to praise them for that, you know. I have to praise them for that. Like, I bitched and moaned and cried like a baby for Final Fantasy to come to Xbox, because I'm like, I ain't a nostalgia kid for Zelda. I was all about Final Fantasy, you know. And like, when I remember when I initially switched to Xbox, was because of the PS3. Like, I couldn't afford it. It was too damn expensive. So I bought an Xbox 360 arcade, which was cheap as hell. I don't think it even had a storage device with it. I got like, it had like a pathetic amount of storage. But that's all I could afford at the time. But like, over time, I like built my system. I bought the little Wi-Fi add-on for it. You know, it didn't even have fucking Wi-Fi, the first Xbox 360 that came out. You have to buy an attachment for it. But I did all that shit over time, and then like eventually I did get a better job and I did have more money. But by that point, I was like so invested in the 360 ecosystem. I was just like, well, I'm not going back to PlayStation now, because I've got all these Xbox games and I don't have the space, you know, for 2 consoles in my life. So and then I just stuck with Xbox, and I'm okay with that. There's just so much content on Xbox that it's totally okay to just be like, I'll just stick with Xbox, you know. Or, conversely, stick with PlayStation. So I feel completely the same way. I think wherever you want to play is valid. You know, and it's just weird console warriors on Twitter who just will go out of their way to tell you that you shouldn't enjoy what you've spent your money on, you know. I just don't get that shit. Like, you will never see me on social media attacking PlayStation, you know, but like the way we see other content creators attack Xbox, like they're offended that you like Xbox. I ain't offended if anyone likes PlayStation or Nintendo. I don't give a fuck. In fact, I'm happy for you. If you're like passionate about something, that's far better than hating something, you know. You know, like wrestling fans, you know, like some wrestling fans like AEW. I don't mock them. It's not my fault they got bad taste, right? Oh dear. Dark Fox says, talking about Persona, JEZ, did you finish Persona? I have not finished Persona yet. I did put about another 10 hours into it. I just did the Hawaii sequence. So we are gradually getting through Persona. We're getting there. It's just a slog, man. I think maybe with me the issue with Persona is I'm not that invested in the setting. Like, it's hard for me to get immersed in the fantasy of being a Japanese schoolboy. It's part of the problem. So like, the setting for me is probably the thing I struggle with the most, but that's why like I kind of like the look of Metaphor, because at least it's like a bit more fantasy based. And I've seen a lot of people say like, yeah, NC in the chat, I like Metaphor more for that reason, and SMT. So I think like I could probably get into SMT and Metaphor a bit more. Like, even Soul Hackers. Like, I started Soul Hackers too, just to dabble with it, and I was like, well, this feels a little bit, this is a little bit cooler than Persona to me. Like, Persona, like watching the kids interact and like all the teenage issues, it kind of just makes me cringe, you know. And maybe if I was younger, like I almost feel like I'm too old to be playing Persona, but like the gameplay's fun, you know. But anyways, let's get back to another Patreon question. We've got Pat Rock, who says, if Xbox was to drop the paywall for multiplayer, wouldn't it also make sense for them to double down on exclusive perks for our online games as well, to really hammer home Xbox is the best place to play multiplayer, free place to play multiplayer, and the perk place to play multiplayer? Good luck, have fun. I completely agree. I think Xbox should drop the paywall, and here's a prediction for me for next gen. I think the next gen Xbox console will drop the paywall for Xbox Live, but only on the next-gen systems. So, like, as an incentive to upgrade to the next-gen system, it'd be like, you no longer have to pay for Xbox Live Gold multiplayer if you upgrade to the Xbox Series X2. Whatever. That's my prediction for next-gen. But I also agree on the perks thing. Like, I've constantly said to Microsoft, like, the amount of perks that we get in Game Pass, all the extras, is arguably not good enough. You know, considering that Microsoft owns all of these games, like, why aren't there, like, weekly skins for Call of Duty? Or at least monthly? Why aren't there monthly things for World of Warcraft? Or why aren't there monthly things for Halo Infinite? Like, if I go on the perks list right now, all I've got is Throne and Liberty, a pet for Throne and Liberty, which I didn't even know was on Xbox. Persona 3 Reload Expansion Pass. Yeah, I'll claim that. That's a pretty cool perk. So Persona 3's DLC is available as a perk on Game Pass, which is cool. There's also Elder Scrolls Online 10-year anniversary pack, a Multiverses MVP pack, Gems of War, whatever that is, currency for Phantasy Star Online 2, a new tank for World of Tanks. Like, these are just crap, man. And there's just like 4, 8, 12, 14, 16. There's only 16 perks. Out of thousands of games that are on Xbox, there's only 16 perks right now. If I was Microsoft, I'd have a whole team, and I'd have a whole API layer for skins and shit that are Game Pass exclusive, and I would mandate that every single one of my studios delivering a service game has to have some kind of perk for Game Pass. I would mandate that shit. I would tell the Candy Crush team, I would tell Warcraft team, Call of Duty, you all need a Game Pass tie-in every single fucking month. Every month. That's what I would do. But I'm also mean, and maybe that's, you know, too much work, and maybe I'd be a bad boss, but that's what I would do in a perfect world. Ramildo says, Jez, what happened to the Wu-Tang game? I have no idea. I have no idea about the Wu-Tang game. I think Tom Henderson reported on it last. Apparently it's still a thing, but I honestly don't know. Zach Riley says they could be giving out WoW pets and mounts. I agree. They should be giving out WoW pets and mounts. They could give traders tender for the cosmetics in Game Pass, but it's crazy, man. It's crazy. HK Gaming, isn't Wu-Chang the Wu-Tang game? I don't think so, man. I don't think so. The Wu-Tang game was being developed by Brassline Entertainment. Brassline Entertainment, who haven't yet actually published the game, from what I can tell. So yeah, Brassline doesn't seem to have actually delivered a game yet, and they are the ones who are supposedly working on it. They're still tweeting a lot, so it does seem like there will be a game emerging from them eventually, but they were the ones who I heard were making the Wu-Tang game. But we'll see if that actually materializes someday. Next question is from Sick and Tired. Sick and Tired says, hey man, I don't really see the need for Microsoft to invest in a handheld next gen. With what I'm seeing, PC makers coming out with already, ROG Ally, Legion Go, and even the new MSI Claw 8 Plus using Intel is performing really well. I think there's enough Xbox and PC options out there. Did Microsoft miss the boat, maybe? I mean, Sick and Tired, I kind of agree, but the reason I personally want Xbox to do it is I would like to see full Xbox backwards compatibility on a handheld. Like, I want the Xbox chip on there, or at least some kind of emulation, so my Xbox library will work on the handheld. Because right now, I only get PC games on the PC, right? But I own 1,000 Xbox games. So, like, is there some kind of licensing thing where Microsoft can be like, well, like Microsoft has the licenses to sell Xbox games on Xbox devices. So does Microsoft have to define their handheld as an Xbox device, not a PC, in order for me to get my games on the handheld? Because right now I don't get my games on PC. So I don't think they've missed the boat. I think the handheld could be good for existing Xbox users. That's why I want them to do it, selfishly. But I agree that they should leave the PC gaming handheld market to those guys. I've heard like really good things about the MSI Claw 8 Plus, for example. I did not foresee Intel's handheld taking the performance crown. So that was cool to see. But there's also going to be Lenovo Legion Go announced at CES. And also Lenovo Legion Go 2 probably launching this year, which will be even more powerful. So I do think they've missed the boat for PC, but I think there's still room for an Xbox handheld that's truly an Xbox. But maybe there isn't. Maybe there isn't. Oh, my girlfriend just bought me some cola. Thank God. Man, my throat was getting dry here, man. Like when you're sort of solo podcasting and talking the whole time by yourself, and there's no chance to stop talking because you, like, my throat was getting really dry. I was like, holy shit. How do streamers do this, man? How do fucking streamers do this? I suppose I have a glass of water or something, right? Professional podcasting. Next one is... So, Zenor White in chat says, where's Rand? Rand is sick. Rand has the flu or something of that nature. So that's where Rand is right now. So we just thought we'd do a solo show. Mazer Tech in chat says, no device needs quick resume more than a handheld. So that's another thing. Like, I feel like an Xbox handheld with a dedicated operating system could have things like quick resume, you know. But we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. I've got no idea what the Xbox handheld will look like. If it'll be a PC handheld or if it'll be a true Xbox. Personally, I would hope that it's a true Xbox, but... like Windowed Box in chat says, I hope we see more Play Anywhere next gen. Like, I think Xbox Play Anywhere should be a requirement. I think it should be a requirement for developers in that ecosystem. But I also wonder if developers, like, they don't want to maintain multiple PC versions or something. Like the whole Forspoken thing we talked about earlier. Like, Forspoken on Windows is several versions behind Forspoken on PC. You know? Pandaman7 says, Happy New Year. Have you guys heard anything about COD in Game Pass? Curious if Xbox happy with results. We'll continue to put it in Game Pass day one. Pandaman77, I believe that we will still get Call of Duty in Game Pass. With regards to results and its performance, I don't know. What I do know is it was the biggest launch for Call of Duty of all time. And I think they did say things like it brought players back to the franchise who hadn't played it in a long time. Like, I'm one of them, for example. I haven't touched Call of Duty in a long fucking time, but I came back because of the Game Pass integration. At least for a bit. I haven't played it that much. I think I'm like level 50 now or something. I haven't done Prestige or anything like that. Just played it quite casually. But I wouldn't have touched it at all if it wasn't in Game Pass because, you know, $70 to just experience the same old thing over and over again is too much for me year in, year out. But if it's on Game Pass, then yeah, I'll try it. You know. So I do think they'll keep it in. I do think they'll keep putting it in Game Pass. And it's like, it was their whole argument, right? Was that they wanted to bring it to more people. And also it's a good draw for cloud probably as well. In-game Hector says, any chance we can get our Xbox games on PT natively? Technologically speaking, it is possible. And I think Microsoft already has an emulation layer internally they use for development. for that purpose. The issue is the licensing. Will publishers and indie developers let them do it? Because right now they're licensed only. Yeah. It's up to publishers, man. They've got all the keys here, so here's what it is, man. What else we got? Zeno White with a $10. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a fantastic new year. You too, man. And everyone in the chat and everyone listening on Spotify. Hope you guys had a great Christmas and have an awesome new year as well. Right, next one we've got is SheJad93. Happy New Year's, gents. My question this week is simple. Did JEZ finish Persona 5 in time? I did not finish Persona 5 in time, although I did put work in. I put about another 15 or so hours into the game. I did the Desert Palace. We've been to Hawaii. We've just got back from Hawaii, so I have no idea where that puts me in the game. I think I've just where have I got? I'm sort of like, is it September now? It's September in the year. Zeno White dollars, forgetting where you come from, man. Yeah, like Windows Central's an American site, man. So I have to work in dollars. Like I'm constantly thinking in dollars. So next up we got Sith Banks 87. Happy New Year, fellas. Will either of you be watching the Raw debut on Netflix? Any chance of a Patreon watch along? Also, what is superior, cake or pie? So Sith Banks, I will be watching Raw on Netflix. Even though it's not going to be available in Germany, I'm going to VPN my UK Netflix account and then watch it like that. I'm going to watch it live because it's kind of historic, right? So yeah, I will be watching Raw on Netflix. Also, my girlfriend has gotten into WWE, so I'm super happy about this. I couldn't get her into gaming, but I've got her into WWE. So I'm like, I'm so gassed about this. So yeah, I'll be watching Raw. It sounds like it's going to be amazing. But a Patreon watch along, legally, I'm not sure how that'll work. Like, we can't stream, we won't be able to stream it. And also, like, it'll be 1 in the morning here, or 2 in the morning even. So I'm not sure I could swing that and make all the noise. So I think I will just be watching it by myself. I think Rand is going to watch it though. But what we will do is we'll have a thread. Maybe we can have a thread. In fact, there already is a thread. There's a WWE thread on Discord. So if you go on a Discord, maybe we can all chat about it and watch it live together on Discord and chat there about it. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked for WWE Raw on Netflix. Is anyone in the chat? Are you guys going to be watching Raw on Netflix? I mean, for a lot of people, I feel like one of the issues with WWE is like getting access to it. Like in the UK, there's a lot of streaming sites you can use to watch wrestling, but like if you're not someone who will bother with that kind of thing, you have to pay you have to buy an entire sports package to get wrestling. So it's like an extra 40 quid a month just to get the WWE. Even if you don't want to watch the football and shit like that. But like now it's on Netflix, I feel like a lot more people are going to get into it. Especially if they're bringing people like, you know, some of the classic wrestlers back. The rumor is that like, you know, The Rock's going to be there, Stone Cold's going to be there. All these fucking rumors are probably all bullshit. Like WWE gets way more clickbait and fake news than video gaming ever has. Like if people think video game journalism's bad, you ain't seen wrestling journalism, man. The amount of fake bullshit that I see streaming through my feed about the WWE is just hilarious, man. Absolutely hilarious. And finally, we have Silas with the final Patreon question of the week, who says, Happy New Year. If you could spend the day with a Kardashian, which one would it be, why, and what would you do? Oh my god. Kardashian. Jesus Christ. I don't know, man. I suppose I'm trying to think of a way I could spend the day with Kim Kardashian and I would get her to give me shitloads of money. That's what we would do. We would go to the bank and Kim would generously donate me $10 million. That'd be it. That's what we do. And then maybe we go to McDonald's or something. And then I'd leave. And then I'd take my $10 million and I would slap that shit in the bank, convert it to His Highness's money. So 10 million USD. USD in GBP. That is approximately £8 million sterling. I would probably have to pay tax on that. So capital gains tax is what? Capital gains tax UK. Capital gains yeah. So I'd have to pay like a shitload of capital gains tax. So I'd probably end up with like what, £5 million in the end. So actually, maybe I'd need to ask for something like £20 million. So I'd ask for £20 million and end up with £10 million after capital gains tax. And then I'd take that £10 million and I would delete all my social media except for Discord. And then we would make the best fucking podcast. I'd move Rand to the UK. We'd get a podcast studio and we start doing the podcast on camera with a professional podcasting studio. And then we'd take over the world as like the best podcast ever with all the camera angles, with a nice studio. We'd have a little plant. Let me do that. Oh, man. Romildo says, Jez, do you know why Neo is not on Xbox? A Sony deal. Probably a Sony deal. I honestly don't know for sure. But, you know, maybe it will come eventually. You know. We'll see. We'll see. Right, guys. I think that's going to be it for today's show. Thank you so much for staying with me. I know this was a weird one, given that Rand isn't here. Thanks to everyone who dropped in super chats, dropped in on Patreon, and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, you can get 20% off, free shipping at Manscaped with code XB2, our sponsor. You can also get extra shows, Patreon Q&As, and even merch and other things via patreon.com/XB2. We do giveaways on discord.gg/XB2 and much more. You can hang out with us there, talk about all the things. And that's pretty much it for this week, I think. Hopefully next week we'll be back as usual. Rand will recover from his flu. Go and send him a nice message on Discord. And yeah, I think we're going to get out of here. So take care, everybody. Have a great Happy New Year, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys, and thank you so much.